Step into the light, yeah, I'm feeling blessed. Nothing holds me back, I'm ready for the test. With faith as my shield, watch me conquer this quest. In the rhythm of his love, it's time for success. All things are possible, gotta let it flow. With him by my side, I'm ready, let's go. I'm ready, let's go. I'm ready, let's go. I can do all things, no limits, no chains. With Christ Jesus leading, I'll never feel pain. In this rap party, we're raising the flame. Shouting out loud, forever he reigns. Darkness, but I'm shining bright. In the depths of my troubles, he ignites the light. I'm rising up high with power from on high. In this trap beat groove, watch me touch the sky. Can't stop, won't stop, I'm a warrior alive. With Christ in my heart, I'm destined to thrive. I'm destined to thrive. I'm destined to thrive. I can do all things, no limits, no chains. With Christ Jesus leading, I'll never feel pain. In this trap party, we're raising the flame. Shouting out loud, forever he reigns. 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 He reigns. Darkness, but I'm shining bright. In the depths of my troubles, he ignites the light. I'm rising up high with power from on high. In this trap beat groove, watch me touch the sky. Can't stop, won't stop, I'm a warrior alive. With Christ in my heart, I'm destined to thrive. I'm destined to thrive. I'm destined to thrive. All things through him, I'm fully equipped. Living life to the fullest, I'm ready to lift. 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 He reigns. He reigns. He reigns. All things through him, I'm fully equipped. Living life to the fullest, I'm ready to lift. I'm ready to lift. I'm ready to lift. I'm ready to lift. I'm ready to lift.
Yep.
I'm ready to lift.
I'm ready
He reigns.
to lift. Yeah. So the song played, so we should be good. We should be good. We should be good. We should be good.
He reigns.
All right, I think we might be in business.
We might be good. We might be good.
He reigns.
Yeah, we might be good. Welcome to the Pastor's Q&A. So today, are you sleeping with demons? Are you committing spiritual homicide? Because I believe it's the S word that kind of kept getting us booted out of here. But are you committing spiritual homicide in this thing? So as I stated earlier, and we're going to do this thing right and properly, have you ever thought in any time of your life that everybody that you've ever had sex with, you are taking that person with you into every relationship?
Everywhere.
So we're going to get into this. Sex, what it is, who made it, why it's made, how it came, who your mama said it should be, what the world say it should be. And we're going to dive deep into this thing and how it affects us every day of our lives. So with that being said, we're going to get into it.
Hey.
So welcome back. Here we are, Pastor's Q&A. I'm your host, Pastor A, my beautiful wife, Pastor Q. We're here, we're live. How are you feeling? What you on YouTube?
Yep.
Then I guess I'll jump on and see what the people are saying on the other side.
We are live over there. Look at that. Hey. He said, oh dear, here we go.
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. So my volume is not working nowhere. So
Sorry.
let me restart you over. I didn't say take a screenshot. So how you doing today, sir? And thank you for joining us.
Yes. All right.
So we're here. We're in the building. I did write down some notes. My wife asked me if I wrote down notes.
Yeah, we need to be prepared. How about that?
So here we go. Yes, here we go. So, what do you think is some uncomfortable truths about sex? I'm going to be on my best behavior. That's my line.
We're good.
We're good.
We're good. We got some well-needed rest today. I think
No.
both our bodies shut down this morning and neither one of us could move. We've been working hard at the regular job. So, but we're good. We're here. Thank you for asking.
There we
I need
go.
to get this head done because I look a mess, but it's all right. What was the question? I'm sorry.
The question is, do you feel that there are any uncomfortable truths about sex?
Uncomfortable truths?
Yeah.
What do you mean uncomfortable?
So, do you feel that when it comes to sex, people shy away, they're uncomfortable about having this conversation?
We appreciate you also, sir. I don't think, well, I guess when you say uncomfortable truths, I don't think of uncomfortable. I think of more unknown, less lack of understanding. Oh, I guess it'll help if I was actually speaking in the microphone. I think a lack
It
of
would help if you cut it on.
Oh, there we go. A lack of understanding. I just turned it off when I hit it. And when you ask those questions of people shy away, I think it's more of the person and what they're used to. If people, hey Tam, people shy away when they think that they're going to get in trouble for having certain conversations, or they're going to be, what's the word? Looked down upon because of certain situations. So it depends on the context, who they're talking to, that type of thing. Because someone might be talking to their friend and they're perfectly fine, but then they go to their parents and then it's a uncomfortable situation. So how about awkward? Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Like, talking to your parents about sex might be awkward for somebody. If that makes sense.
Okay. So, let me ask this question. Is sex harmless?
In the right context, yes.
So when you say in the right context, what do you mean?
Between a male, a female, and marriage.
between a male, a female, and marriage. So
Yes.
you ain't holding no punches
No.
today, I see.
Because we have such a tainted view and a lack, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but sex is just a thing. Nobody actually holds it to the standard of what it is, and it's a covenant. It's not to be taken lightly. So all of the stuff that we've been told and how society sees sex in the connotation of sex is no longer held at a standard. So anybody can have sex, any age, any time, there is no sacredness in which sex is supposed to be sacred, held between a husband and a wife. That's just gone out of the door.
And so, how did we get here? How we get to this point?
Oh, that's easy. We got to this point when in the garden. Period.
So this is a Eve problem.
It's an Adam and Eve problem. Ain't no blame more on one than the other. It's an Adam and Eve problem.
She did it.
They both were out of order, and now we have a world out of order. And because the enemy, who he is, because he perverts everything that is of God, it's been perverted in ways that we can't even imagine. Well, I can't say we can't even imagine because we're looking at it. There is no sacredness, Now it's, people are babies, animals, like there's no holdback.
Got you. So, he said the apple.
The apple.
The fruit. As they say. So,
Hey, Steve.
what up, Steve? So if it's harmless,
I didn't say harmless. You asked if it was harmless.
if
I
it was
said no.
harmless, you said no, and but you also said within the right context, right?
Oh, harmless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, can sex break you?
Oh man, sex has broken many people. It's when you have sex outside of the right context. Ooh. You open yourself up to a world of anything and everything which can break you, including leading you to addictions.
So I made this comment in the beginning of the video, and I would like to know what the audience thinks about this comment. It said, imagine carrying every person you slept with into your next relationship. Can you imagine that?
Give me a second.
And if I told you that every sexual partner leaves a mark on you, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. So, how do y'all in the audience feel about that? Steve says, no. No as you don't believe that, or no as I hope not. So, with that being said, I'm serious. What could be some problems that we can have, or that we do have, that when we step into this arena, when we get here, like, does this open us up to something that we really are not ready for? Because today I just kind of want us to think outside of the box for a minute. Before we go into the full oomph between today and tomorrow, I kind of wanted us to just really sit down and really hone in and think about what type of mark has been left on us by certain people. Especially when it comes to the emotional and spiritual part. I'm serious, said I was raised right, but encountered a young lady in the 6th grade who was loose and unguided. So with that encounter, how did it affect you leading into your adulthood?
What's the question? I'm
so the
sorry.
question that I asked was, because I'm serious, said it would definitely be some problems. I asked what could be some problems, and how has people marked us spiritually and emotionally, sexually?
How has people said that?
How have we been marked through sex, emotionally and spiritually?
Okay, so when you say marked, meaning,
Because the question I ask is, can people leave a mark? When you have a sexual partner, they leave a mark, whether it's physical, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual. So what type of mark, or how does these mark affect you spiritually and emotionally that is left? And like I said, I kind of want us to open up, not necessarily slowly, but open up more so where we're thinking outside of the box really quickly before we
get into it.
throw punches.
Okay. So when you say marked, help me.
Mark. So like, I'm serious, said I was raised right, but encountered a young lady in the 6th grade who was loose and unguided. So, and I asked him, how did that affect him emotionally or spiritually? Also, for example, I was introduced to sex at a young age by an older woman, and I didn't know until 4 years ago I was molested, or that was a form of molestation. How I took it was, I'm the macho man on the block. I'm doing something that none of my friends are doing. So that affected me by chasing single women, always being around prostitution. You know, it took me into a dark.
So in other words, how did it affect you?
Right.
Okay. Stevie C said, I think sex and love are two separate entities. They are two separate entities. But they can be connected. They should be connected. When used in its purpose, they are connected. But marking the effect of sex again goes back to how it's used. Like you said, when you were younger, it opened the door.
Right.
And for anybody who is underage, well, I'm not even going to say underage, it literally opens a door. It's almost like a gateway drug to me.
Got you.
That's how I see sex. When used outside of its proper context, sex is like a gateway drug. It will open the door for so much other stuff. Because think about it, if you're not married to the person that you're having sex with, sex usually comes with emotional ties. So I start having sex with you outside of marriage, then in my head, we're together. And in my head, it's me and you. So if I find out that you're having sex outside of that, now I'm broken.
Got you.
Or even if we have a mutual agreement, and I learned this the hard way, even if we have a mutual agreement that I'm only having sex.
You speak of women, right, where you want control. Is there ever...
I don't want control that is taken by force.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what that was about, y'all. We've been having a lot of technical issues this morning. I don't know if we not supposed to be like having this conversation. This conversation is supposed to go out. I don't know, but this has been probably one of the hardest episodes we've had to get out. But I done lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. So you were saying even on a mutual level, like when people have...
Even on a mutual level, if people have a mutual agreement, okay, our relationship is just based on sex. I don't want nothing else from you. Eventually, at least one of them begins to have emotions. It never fails. Somebody is going to fall. Somebody is going to fall for the other one. And that usually leaves the other person hurt because the feelings are not the same. It's not mutual. Gotcha. So in those cases, yes, somebody is going to end up not on the happy end and end up marked, usually leaving anger and bitterness behind.
Got you. So I'm serious. Said for a year or so, I thought all girls were like her. Thought that they was loose and unguided and gonna spread them. But yeah, but he said I did what you did. They taught me that all were not like that girl. Exactly. Steve said, hello, block them in the name of Jesus. Hey, Des, how are you?
Hey, Des.
Yeah, I thought I'd remove Corey. I guess he wanted to chime in on this episode as well.
Said Satan sent that to throw us off. It worked for a minute because I sure got discombobulated that quick.
So before we really get into it. Before we became the Pastor's Q&A, and y'all can go check our history, even here, we were once the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show. I left some of the old videos up still on this.
You left it on this platform? On
this platform. I didn't create a new platform. I just changed the name.
Oh, gotcha.
On the Wake Bacon Coffee Morning Show platform. Gotcha. This is because people was already subscribed. I didn't want to lose the subscribership. But you can go back. Some of our biggest videos from back in the day dealt with sex. So is sex really that important to people?
I think because of the day and time that we live in, sex, everybody is drawn to content about sex. Sex has become a need and not just a desire, if that makes sense. Anybody who, once you open the door to sex, you cannot close it. And once that door is open, it has to be fed. whether it be physically, mentally, or emotionally. Sex is a demon that has to be fed, literally.
So why is sex so important?
I'm not going to say it's important. I'm going to say it's more of for lack of better words, I'm going to say sex is an addiction.
I can see that. I don't even think it's the sex, the act itself. It's the feeling
Exactly.
from the act.
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily.
When you have sex, it's not just from the act. People get into deeper and deeper forms of sex because of the feeling
Right.
that it fulfills, that need that it fulfills.
And it doesn't matter how you get it.
I just want it. I want that itch scratch.
Right. Whether it's masturbation, whether it's I'm with someone, however the case may be.
It's an itch that needs to be scratched.
So, and the same thing is even with rape. It's not the sex for the rapist. It's
the power.
It's the power and the violence behind it. Sex is just an action that is used
to carry out
that particular crime. So it's always that feeling. So why is that the quickest downfall for people? Sex. Why is that the first go-to?
Because for most people, when people come into contact with one another, usually that lust begins to rage, and the lust becomes louder than anything else. And for those who are looking for it, and a lot of people, because they have been rejected, abandoned, and this is by family, friends, but just throughout their history, they're looking for that acceptance, and they're looking for that love that they have not found.
Got you.
So Stevie Steve says sex and love are two separate entities. They are. But because people don't understand that love and sex are two separate entities, they will give the sex expecting love in exchange.
Okay. So
a lot of young ladies, I'm sorry, and I'm just going from experience, a lot of young people who are missing a dad or a mom or have been molested, they've been rejected and abandoned. When they have sex, they are literally looking for that, like they will have sex hoping and wanting, desiring the love that they've been missing, desiring the connection that they've been missing. And it leads them down a road of being used or even ghosted.
Right. I never forget, and before I go there, I'm serious made a point earlier that the young lady was unguided. So that leads to your point, that by her being she wasn't loose before she was unguided. Her unguidedness caused her, or that warning caused her to be loose.
I'm not even going to say that.
Does the loose comes first?
I'm not going to say that because she may have been molested and nobody even knew it.
But that's what I'm saying. So something happened. So the loose comes after something.
Yes, the loose always comes after something because you've got to first experience it to get to loose. Let us not forget, women mature faster than men. They also begin crushing on us way before we are ready to do things right.
You're absolutely correct. And
absolutely.
So there was a young lady I knew. She was a runaway. And I met her when I was in the street. And she couldn't understand how I could help her without wanting to sleep with her. Like it wasn't that she was ugly. It wasn't that she wasn't unattractive. It's just that I was one where I don't have to receive from you in order to help you. So how does someone get in that mindset?
Because that's what they know. That's experience. When your life is all about I can't get unless I give you something, then that just becomes a nonverbal.
Got you.
And there are not many people who live outside of that, because you have people who grow up in families like that. You can't get nothing from me unless I get something from you. That's a taught habit. Like our kids know they can get from us without, they don't have to be bribed. They don't have to be any of that. Wait, was she from my 6th grade class? Jesus.
I don't know. She had to be at least in the 10th grade when I met her.
Oh my. But it's taught. And, even with, just to be a little bit transparent, I remember an instance where when I was being molested, I wanted some soda. And it was, if you want this soda, then you got to give me what I want. And that is going on. And it's like, oh, as a child, you're thinking, oh, well, this is just what I got to do to get what I want. It's learned behavior.
Interesting. So my last question before we really start unpacking this and really getting deep into this is, well, it's a 2-part question. Maybe a 3. Why have we as, let me cut this camera back on. I'm pretty too.
Oh my.
So this is a question that I just want to ask. When did we as the body of Christ, or when did we as the body of Christ, as the church, when did we stop teaching the sanctity and sacredness of sex? And why don't we teach that sex is more spiritual than it is physical? And how did we allow the Catholic Church to convince us by way of Bill Clinton that it's okay for us to teach safe sex than what the Bible says about sex?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to say it's just the Catholic Church and Bill Clinton. It was already on its way in, because that's just the agenda of the enemy. So we're going to start there. It was already being taught. It just wasn't on a broad scale. So all he did was brought it and put it out there as a broad scale and to be accepted everywhere. That's the only difference.
He made it law.
But, well, that's what I'm saying. He just made it accepted. It was already being accepted. He just opened it up. That's all.
Got you.
Because it was already, the general public decided it was personal in nature to leave it to the parents and not the church. Okay. Well, I'm going to say it's not even leaving it to the parents, because to be honest, if we look at it, and not even the church, to be honest, the only thing that was ever taught was abstinence. Nobody truly understood the spiritual well, I don't even want to say connotation, the spiritual aspect of sex. No one really, and I'm not going to say no one, but it was not taught on a scale of deliverance and understanding. I think we have come over the last couple of years more into a reality of spirituality.
Okay.
When we started saying, when people started doing the whole, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. And that's when they started bringing more of the new age and opening that, learning about the third eye, learning about the chakras, getting into the witchcraft and dealing with the other side of spirituality in order to combat that. And at the measure of which it was growing, then that meant that Christians had to learn the spiritual side also. So now I got to understand what they doing in order for me to combat them. So now we have this world of opening up the spiritual side and understanding demons and witches and warlocks and spells and what that looks like on the spiritual side, which means that now I also have to learn, and learning about those things, I also have to learn about what spiritually sex does, because everything goes together. I'm serious. In my experience as a junior deacon is why tell me never to have it, but I'm in school and tell me exactly. It is a foggy message. Do you agree?
Yes.
And that's the problem.
And that's where I was going. That's what
Right.
I'm looking for. Like, how did it become a conflict of interest?
Because what I was saying was the church never addressed it. All they said was abstinence. Then you got home and parents never addressed it. All they said was don't do it, abstinence.
Right.
But nobody ever went into the explanation of why. And they truly did not understand, other than sex was for a husband and wife.
Got you. Now, with that being said, I got several books here. The Generals. Let me see one of those.
Just one of them?
Yeah, just let me see one. So, this book was written by my teacher, Apostle Roberts Laridan. I be butchering his name.
Yes, you do.
I'm glad. I hope he's not watching. But he has the whole series. And I think the new one is going to have Jimmy Swagger in it. But the reason I bring this up is because when you read about the lives of Catherine Kuhlman, and you read about F.F. Bosworth and George Jeffries and Lester Sumrall or Roberts, they dealt with these type of issues on a spiritual level more than on a physical. And when I had to study these and read these books and read about these people, and I started paying attention to the year. And when I'm looking at the year, one of the oldest years that he printed, I think, was from the late 1700s. Then it goes into the 1800s with the Salvation Army and, the Welsh revival, and how that came to America in the early 1800s, and how it moved all the way up until the 1960s, and then it kind of went dark, but it was still being done behind closed doors, depending on who you was with, who you was affiliated with. So my greatest thing is, why did we hide that aspect? Because if it was embraced, do we think that, as Sirius stated, it wouldn't have been a foggy message. We would have, okay, yes, abstinence, but then there's an explanation.
Well, one, the people that you're speaking about are exceptional. And when I say exceptional, I mean they are outside of the ordinary. So even though their messages were going forth and they were doing revivals, we have to remember that revivals only last for so long and then they sizzle out.
Okay.
And when they sizzle out, so does the message. So the messages didn't keep going. Because 9 times out of 10, there was nobody to pick up that bag that was dropped and keep carrying it.
Got you.
So now, as with the, think about the Israelites, right? When they were in the cycle of the judges, every time they lost a leader, the generation that followed knew nothing about who God was.
The judge prior.
Well, not
Or
just
not
the
the
judge,
but what was
but
in.
God.
Right.
Every time there was always a lost generation somewhere, and they had to pick up and start over. And it's the same way these days. We have those who know of God, those who know God, those who have been taught the word, but then you have that generation in between that say, I don't want no parts of God, because they saw the wrong representation of God, and now they don't want no parts, so they don't teach their children any parts of God, and they don't teach their children any parts of God. So now we have these lost generations until someone comes in, someone who is exceptional comes in with the word and say, hey, let me tell you about this.
Got you. So I'm glad you brought that point up. And even I'm serious. But before we go any further, I just want to tell you, please make sure you give us a thumbs up. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. Click on the bell. Click all so you can get all the notifications every time we go live, even when it messes up. You can still know that we're live. And also share with your people. Let them know that we're here. Bring them in on the conversation. Don't be stingy. As we say, share God's love. Let's share his word. Let's get it out. And with that being said, let's get back to it. So now, the message being foggy. Mm-hmm. All they're saying is just abstinence. Mm-hmm. I remember that we used to take health in school. And there was a thing. Girls, keep your dress down. Boys, keep your pants up. And they would show us crazy pictures of what can happen if you catch syphilis, gonorrhea, what your thing will look like. And hopefully
that was enough to scare you away from it.
It was to scare you, but
scare tactics.
It wasn't like scared straight, but it was more of the way it was taught, it was a more of a, let me see for myself, right? Mm-hmm. So with the foggy message, with the not going into full detail, with not having the breakdown, with it just being what it is, this leads me into my next point. The perverted view of sex. Is this how perversion, I know you mentioned it goes all the way back to the garden, but in the generation, our parents' generation, is this how it was so easy for perversion to slip in? Because you think about porn, Playboy, you know, in the early 1900s, you know, so how we get to how does the message get tainted or foggy to where it opens the door for sex to be perverted?
Say that again.
So how does the door get open to sex being perverted? How did we open, how the messages that we were given, abstinence, not only just abstinence, boys keep your pants up, girls keep your dress down.
Okay.
How did the perverted view slip in with the scared straight tactic that they tried to use?
Because we stopped teaching keep your dress down, keep your pants up. Instead, we started saying, oh, well, I'm going to put my child on birth control to keep him from getting pregnant. Oh, I'm going to start handing out condoms. So what we did was gave them a license to be free, willy, nilly, and do what they want to do. And we going to be okay with it as long as they don't come home with babies.
So one of the points that I have is culture preaches casual sex is normal, harmless.
Yep.
And to me, I believe that that is a great place where it start, because even me and my oldest daughter, mom, me and even my ex-wife, we bumped heads on the same issue. My thing was, if I put her on birth control, in my mind, that gives her the license to have sex.
Well, not only that, birth control don't keep you from getting an STD.
It doesn't. And that was my other argument. You're worrying about a baby. I can deal with a baby. But what about if my daughter
Ends up with HIV and
now we got to push her around. Now she's sick. Now we got to always be at the doctor. Now we got to she got to pop all these pills. What if she gets to something that eats out her ovaries and she never be able to have pregnant? What about you putting her on these birth controls and now it does something to the inside of her body?
like
because
the Depro shots.
Right.
Now they got this lawsuit about the Depro and what it did to the body.
right. So now you have all of these shots, you have all of these things. So now she is more affected than her just being pregnant.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It's a whole nother level.
Right. So for me, it opens the door for license. It opens the door.
It opened the door for license.
I'm sorry. It gives her a license to go out into the world of promiscuity. Then that opens the door for the enemy. Then that opens the door for everything else that comes with it. The spiritual consequence, the emotional emptiness, mistrust, brokenness. It leads to soul ties. And I knew girls kind of similar to the 6th grade girl that would just have that wanted to participate in trains. They'll invite 5, 6 boys, everybody sleeping with her, some protected, some not. And I would sit, a Diddy party, before Diddy parties. And I would just hear the stories and be like, so let me get this straight. So you went right in after him after he did what he, like, now you're contaminated with what he got, and then 2 weeks later, everybody sitting in the free clinic because everybody burning. But y'all are not the only 5 that's burning, because there's 7 more other dudes on the other side of town who burning. Then the people who was invited to the party, then the original party where the disease was actually spreaded. So that wasn't enough to make people stop doing what they were doing. So at that point, was the door
It's
now?
an addiction.
Okay.
Can an addict control their habit? Or does their habit control them? Don't do that. The need to feed is in control. You can't, that's just like, why do you think masturbation works the way that it does? If I wasn't addicted to sex, would I really have to masturbate, or could I wait till I had a second party? People who masturbate is because they want to get that feeling off right then.
Right.
And it's so bad that I was talking to someone, and they were talking about a young lady that they know. The young lady was using a curling iron to have sex. Why would you need to use a curling iron to have sex? Because it is an addiction. They're addicted to the feeling. They have to get it right then. That's why people don't understand the severity.
Oh man, Lord forgive me. I'm so sorry.
The severity. You may not be sure about that, but I've encountered quite a lot that made me sure about a lot of things that I wasn't sure about.
A curling iron.
An actual curling iron. Think about what goes on. You see me doing my hair. You see us walking around here. Think about the chemicals and the products that go on a curling iron. Do you think she stopped to clean the curling iron?
I just hope she don't plug it in.
That wasn't funny. I'm just saying. This is to the...
No, I mean, you think about, like you said, you thinking about a curling iron. This is something that is plugged in. It has circuits. It draws.
She didn't plug it in.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is, this is something that draws heat, as you said, for chemicals in your hair that connects and makes everything goes.
Sir, you putting too much thought into it. The drug controls the addict. All she wanted is the same feeling as something being inserted. That's all she's thinking about. She's trying to get the same high.
That's crazy.
I don't know where your mind going. I just use that as think about what she's putting inside of her. She's not thought about that. That's all I'm saying. And it's the same thing. As preteen parents had to talk to their kids because doctors said children have a human development thing called curiosity. And they do have a human development thing called curiosity. That's why we are the parents and we are to guide them in their curiosity.
I agree.
We have to teach them and we have to have open conversations. We know that young men usually experience wet dreams. Why are they experiencing wet dreams? How do I explain that to my son? What do I tell him? Like, we have to have open conversations. We are to guide and teach them.
And I think this is where the disconnect, and I think that this is how perversion sneaks in, because we allow doctors, TV, teachers, the school system, MTV, BET, all the fake drug dealing rappers, and that's who's starting to raise our children. Because granted, it's something that I heard a judge say to me and my ex-wife. She said, my children have rights. She said, children don't have rights. Children have parents. Because she said it like 4 times to the point where the judge, what's going on? I made it.
See, he said the same thing. Sex is a gateway.
Right.
Yep.
And she said it so many times to where it kind of teed the judge off. And she was like, you keep saying that. Children don't have rights. They have parents. Granted, yes, children have curiosity, but they have parents. Our job as parents, God gave us these children to guide, to teach, to raise, to groom. If I allow TV to do it, then I am giving them a gateway to spiritual homicide, not only just sexually, but emotionally. How they supposed to think, how they supposed to act. Oh, if somebody walk up on you, you supposed to pout. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like the gateway, for some strange reason, has been perverted so much sexually, because now everything has a sexual connotation. The cartoons have sexual connotations. Commercials, TV shows, everything now
Everything
is
leads back
overly
to
sexualized.
seduction.
It's brought to the point where now we are arguing in Congress and we are arguing in the courts. And I still pray for the father in Texas, and I pray for the father in Canada, who are fighting for sons to be men and not their mothers converting. Like, this has gotten to the point where it has become so perverted to now I can have a man put on a dress and some devil and some demon horns and sit down and read sexual explicit books to a 6-year-old, and we think that it's
cute.
okay. And oh my God, they need to know about this. What 6-year-old needs to understand about sex? All he needs to know is how to aim straight and not piss on my floor and all on my toilet seat. That's all he needs to know that come out of that is pee.
That's it.
He don't need to know nothing else. He just need to know how to aim straight in the toilet. Look, son, lift, aim straight into the water.
I made it so they can start worshiping their partner in pleasure instead of God, in my opinion. We all are at war with our flesh, though, at the end of the day. We all are at war with our flesh, but as our children are growing up, if we're not teaching them how to discipline and make their flesh submit, then we're not doing our parts. And that's what I see with a lot of these young people, is that at the end of the day, parents are just giving them what they want. There is no teaching of discipline. There is no teaching. There is no saying no. There is no discipline, because it's easier to give them what they want. And that goes in the areas of sex also. So when you have this teenager that has become you have this teenager who has begin running the streets with this one and that one, and they're doing what they want, then it goes back to what I said. We're going to put you on what is that, birth control, or I'm going to give you condoms, instead of me saying no. You're going to be held accountable. So if you come in here pregnant, you're going to raise that child. Or if you get this disease, then you got to deal with it. Like, I don't believe in just giving over to children, because we don't live in a world where everything goes their way. Life is not that way. So if I'm teaching you that and then I let you go into a world that is not nice, I've not done you any justice. I'm serious as facts. I had no idea why she was that way. I was not ready at 6, but she didn't care. And Steve said, this world has always been sick. It's now that no one cares and can say and do what they want. Absolutely. Your way, right away. Isn't that the Burger King slogan? I'm living my best life. The problem with that is, when I'm raising children, you're not living your best life. You living my best life on my dime. So if you're living your best life on my dime, then I'm the one to dictate what your best life is. And the problem is that all of this sexual stuff starts at early ages. We have young folks, the addiction with sex, all of this is and it comes he said, I guess that's what the political idiot was doing on Nude Africa. He was preaching to the sinners. Nude Africa, I don't know that one. I'm gonna have to look that one up. I'm serious. I'm not familiar with that one. But it's just I even think about, like, it hurts my whole heart that here in the United States, we're worried and fussing about LBGTQ, but then I was listening to this African political leader, and he's like making fun of the United States because y'all are arguing about homosexuality over here. We just cut it off, but we worrying about feeding people. We worrying about clothing people. We worrying about making sure people have shelter. They have shoes. We have the same problems here in the United States, but the only thing we can worry about is this fight between LBGTQ and being in office. Like, it makes no sense to me. Why is it that our children are in schools where they have books that are illicitly exploiting and opening our children to sexual positions, children having sex with adults, all of these things that kids should, at 5 and 6 years old, shouldn't even be on their mind. They should be thinking about playing outside, playing with their friends. As much as I hate it, even on a game, why are we talking to 5 and 6 year olds about sex? Why is it okay for Uncle Johnny to come in and touch my child? And this is in a book. And this is what we're opening up. And this is why we have so much perversion. And no parents are not standing up. Nobody's saying, I'm going to protect my child. And when we were growing up, it was a lot of stuff pushed under the rug. Like Gov was talking about last week when he was talking about Uncle Johnny. And nobody wanted to say anything about Uncle Bobo in the basement that done touched everybody or that done molested everybody. And all the older people, they don't let their kids go around Uncle Johnny because they know what Uncle Johnny, like this, all of this comes up to where we are now. When do we stand up and say, yeah, no, we're not doing that? It's not happening. That one right there, we're not doing it. Pastors don't talk about this stuff in their churches. We do from our pulpit. Secrets give the enemy a stronghold over generations, family generations. And when you learn about the spiritual aspect, then you know that a lot of this is generational curses. Let me explain something to you about a spirit, all right? When a spirit is entered into a generation, a family bloodline, that spirit now, depending on how it entered, has every legal right to every person in that bloodline. So that means my great grandchild is now destined to be molested because we allowed molestation into the family generation until somebody learns about it and breaks that curse off the bloodline. Let me tell you how that works. It's something as simple as me being a parent trying to protect my child this entire time, the best way I know how. But because it's a generational bloodline curse The enemy works in a whole nother way. That means whatever way that it can come in, it can, because legally it has a right. That means that I can do everything I can to cover that child. And something as simple as somebody brushing up on my child or my daughter, touching her breast through her shirt, whatever, can now allow a spirit of lust to enter that child. This is what I mean when I say we have to you have to understand spirituality. The spirit realm is more real than the physical realm. I don't care what nobody say. You ain't got to agree with me. I'm telling you how it works.
Whew. Okay. What did I walk in on?
A lot was said.
Well, I see.
In other countries, done look up the site. It is not for us. Oh, don't look up the site. Okay, got you. In other countries, that is the norm. Adults with children, sick world, as I say. It is.
I missed a lot.
And you're absolutely right, Stevie Steve. In other countries, they are selling their daughters to grown adult men so that they can, no, it's nothing's in there. They are selling their daughters to grown men just to feed their families. It's a reality. But here in the United States, it doesn't have to be. We've made that. For them, that's a way of living. That's the way of making ends meet. Here in the United States, that should not be a reality. It does not have to be here because we have options. And the fact that we have given our children to adults, like for real, I ain't got no words. I ain't got no words. But a lot of this sexual stuff started in the early ages. And I'm talking about like 13 preteen ages. So by the time they become adults, they are fully addicted to sex. Not only are they fully addicted to sex, they're fully addicted to looking for love in all the wrong places. Which opens a world that they're not even ready for. Shoot, half the adults that started having sex as adults aren't ready for the world that has been opened up to them. You wondering about why you can't get rid of Johnny after Johnny's gone, because you got a soul tie. A part of his DNA, a part of his spirit is still left in you. So whenever Johnny get ready, Johnny can pick up the phone and call you, and then you gonna open the door and let him in. Whether it be once every 6 months, once every 3 months, once every night, it don't even matter. Johnny with somebody else, but you still opening the door. Why? Because it's a soul tie. You done had sex with this woman. Now you got a spiritual wife. You don't know why none of your relationships is working out, because your spiritual wife is causing interference. That's called succubus and incubus if you need the demonic names.
I didn't expect us to make it to soul ties today.
I'm just saying, I don't know what your outline say, so we can go back to your outline.
No. Keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I just walked in. I know I left. We was talking about how perversion snuck in, and then I come back and, I'm done with and I'm trying to read the comments.
Oh.
And, I'm listening to what you're saying. And I'm going to shut up and let you finish.
Hey, Miss Sue. I'm just saying, this is what it is. And it's oh, man. When we open the door to sex, yes, we commit spiritual homicide. Because now we've opened our spirits up. And most people don't even understand, like I've been saying the whole time, you don't understand the spirit realm, so you really don't understand the complete, the fullness of the effect on your life. Like for real. You don't understand why stuff is being held up because you moving wrong. You in this relationship with this person you ain't got no business in relationship with, and you done open the door to sex, so now you don't even understand how to get rid of them. Do you know that every person you've had sex with, you've married them in the spirit? Because in the Bible, it wasn't a piece of paper that caused you to be married. It was the what's the word? The consummation that said you was married. You weren't married until that man penetrated that woman.
And this is why even if you penetrated a woman that wasn't your wife, you were now responsible for her for the rest of her life as if she was your wife.
That's it.
He said it's Mr. Tory here.
He is not here, Stevie Steve. He's usually on Facebook. And oh yeah, we do have Facebook going.
Let me see.
But I'm just saying, it is so much. And we're telling our kids, it's okay. I'm going to put you on birth control. No, you're not. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to protect you for as long as I can. And I'm going to teach you what it means to start having sex. What that look like in the spirit world. You taking on everything that that other person and that other person has inside of them, in which they done took on all the stuff that they done had from other people. Like, it's a whole mess.
Right.
And it affects more than just your mental. It affects your financial abilities. It affects your schooling abilities. It affects all of the capacities. Because you've opened yourself up to all of these different spirits, and now you don't understand what's going on in your life. Think about it. If you've ever seen a virgin who started acting crazy, they started acting like they bipolar, I can look at somebody and be like, ooh, you done started having sex. How I know that? Because of how you acting. This ain't even you. This somebody else. Because now they're acting out the characteristics of the other person that they done took on. And now you can't help. When you have that craving for sex, you can't help but to defeat it. You don't know how to fight it. Every person you come in contact with, you got to sleep with, you don't even like it. You don't like it. You don't like the feeling you have afterwards. You don't like you don't like even doing it. Like Paul says, the things I don't want to do, I do, and the things I do want to do, I don't do. That's you. And you don't understand why you can't stop. Like, it's real, y'all. It's real. But yet we treat sex like it's just, it's just, it's just sex. Nah, it's not just sex. It's a whole world that comes with sex. That's why God said it's made for a husband and a wife. And when they come together, the two become one. And you're not supposed to be divorced.
For the reason that you would take that man with you or that woman with you.
I'm just saying. I'm sorry. I got a little caught up in that for a moment. I get passionate about stuff like this because, like, this is somebody's whole life. And there's so many people walking around lost and confused and hurt and traumatized. They don't even understand why, because they need healing. They're hanging on and holding on to grudges against people not even understanding. Suzette say, oh my Lord, help us. Yes, Jesus, help us. Help us. Because we got a world full of broken people. How are they broken? Most of them broken from sex. Let's just be honest. If it ain't sex, it's abandonment and rejection. And they looking for love in all the wrong places, which leads right back to sex.
I was going to say it, even the abandonment and the rejection, sex took place.
Nah, because it could have been an abandonment of a mother or a father and you had nothing to do with it. But it still leads you to looking for love in all the wrong places, which leads you right back to what? Sex. You could have had a mother and a father, but because everybody around you at school rejected you, the friends rejected you, now you're looking for acceptance in every other place. And what is the world going to tell you? The world going to tell you your acceptance is give me your body. Right back to sex. Everything you look at on TV, every music, the songs, if the song ain't talking about suicide, murder, then it's talking about what? Sex. And suicide and murder still somehow was tied in sex somewhere in that song. Commercials, lustful. Everything has the spirit of lust that's on top of it. Even certain churches got pastors praying on the vulnerable. And I'm not down in churches, but I'm telling you, be careful. Be careful. I had somebody tell me today that one of my babies said, when somebody offer you something, you got to take it. I said, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. She wasn't taught that. She wasn't taught that. But do you know how many young folks believe that? If it's offered to you, you got to take it. No, you don't. That's a trap and a lie of the enemy. That's how we get right back to sex. Sorry, y'all. I'm passionate about this thing. Passionate about this thing. I'm sorry.
I mean, like I said, I'll walk back into something I didn't know what happened, what was going on. So I was gonna let you, do what you do and continue to speak. Because even in the outline, you pretty much covered the first part, which is culture preaches casual sex is normal, harmless, fun, but premarital sex creates spiritual consequences, emotional emptiness, mistrust, brokenness, ungodly soul ties.
Hold on, let me stop you for would you say the spiritual emptiness? Go back to that one.
Emotional emptiness.
Emotional emptiness. I've been talking about how people are looking for love in all the wrong places, and we begin to give our bodies in exchange for what we think is love, or we begin to give our bodies in exchange for what we think is acceptance. But at the end of the day, when it's over, we are completely still empty. And now I'm left with this feeling, and this person done moved on. Rather, they done moved on, meaning, we're done, and they got up and they're out of the room or whatever. And I often think about, it's the same the same premise of, you can be in a room full of people and still be by yourself, lonely, empty. Sex is the same thing. You can be having sex with somebody and still be empty, lonely, emotionally empty, because you're not getting nothing out of it. And anytime you're having sex outside of marriage, what are you getting other than the arousal, getting the fulfillment of that feeling, which is fleeting? It's over as soon as it's done.
And even that leads to the other point that's being made here, which is the mistrust. Because if you're empty, then you're gonna mistrust everything. If you've been used sexually, you don't trust people. Especially women don't trust men. They'll still use you for that pleasure, or they still want to receive the feeling, the emotion, not the emotional, but they want to have that feeling, that that end feeling that comes with sex. But there's no trust. There's no, especially for a young lady who has been misguided through molestation, through rape, through especially when someone that they have instilled trust into has broken that. So that leads to a very deepening mistrust, where your mistrust begins to be rooted in hatred,
Bitterness.
and then hatred get rooted into bitterness. Let me pull this scripture up real quick. It said, "Let it is a bitterness."
You talking about the scripture about the root of bitterness?
Yeah. Here it goes. It says, see Hebrews 12:15. So y'all can, I'm not going to leave y'all out there by yourself. I'm going to make sure that y'all can read along with me. Hebrews 12:15. It says, see to it that no one falls short of grace of God, and that no bitterness root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. I like the King James. It said, looking diligently, lest any man fall of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you. Therefore many be defiled. Bitterness brings defilement. Acts 8:23 said, for I see that you are in the gall of bitterness and on the bond of iniquity. So when you're talking about the root of bitterness, and when you're talking about what bitterness can do, let me pull this up so y'all can see it. For I perceive that thou art in the gall of bitterness and in the bond of iniquity. Bitterness does something that it takes a root. I need a transcript of Mama Q's rant words. They'll be on YouTube. They'll be on YouTube. YouTube makes a transcript. Bitterness takes a root that is stronger than anger, rage, and hate combined, to where bitterness brings, it is so strong to where it will eat the person who has it alive from the inside out.
Bitterness is like a poison going through your body.
A lot of people who have cancer, it stems from some form of unforgiveness and bitterness.
Scientifically proven.
And I was about to say, and this is proven scientifically. This is not just biblical. This is also scientific. Bitterness can kill you. Literally. Take you up out of here. Bitterness is, I don't think there's a disease on the planet that can do you in like unforgiveness and bitterness.
Let me interject. I heard a friend of mine, shout out to Dr. C, Cynthia Williams from Love Afar. She said the other day something that just grabbed me. She said, anger, how did she say it? She said, anger is okay, but it's the fact that you hold grudges that lead to bitterness or something like that. Because it's not the anger that leads to bitterness, it's the grudge that you're holding. It's that part that you're holding on to. Most people, they'll say, oh, I'm not angry, I'm just not letting go.
That's bitterness.
It's the grudge. That's the part that gets anchored in the bitterness.
And I'm just scamming through Bible verses on bitterness. How bitterness pretty much causes the heart decay. Mm-hmm. It changes. Sexual sin changes how you move.
Absolutely.
It changes your mind. It changes your attitude. It changes how you see things. You can get caught up in sexual sin to where it dictates your movement. It dictates how you think, how you see.
That's that addiction.
That's the addiction. That's also an unclean spirit, and that's also, and bitterness falls into the same category because your mistrust of people, because of the spiritual consequence of having premarital sex, takes you to a place where it is not you. It takes you to a place where something else now controls you. It controls your soul, which is your will, mind, and emotions. Your spirit man is dead. Your soul is being controlled by an unseen force. And your body wants what it wants, when it wants it, and how it wants it. And you are willing to feed it what it wants, when it wants, how it wants, because you're not in control and your spirit man is dead. Because you're tied to an emotional baggage. You're tied to I had sex with Jane. Jane has had 20 partners. So I technically have slept with all 20 partners of Jane.
Plus Jane.
Plus Jane. Plus
Whoever they done slept with.
the 20 partners have had 20 partners. Who has had 20 partners? Who has had 20 partners? As you can see how this goes. So now when I sleep with Jane, I sleep with the 20 partners, their 20 partners, their 20 partners, and their 20 partners. Now this begins to take a hold and control on me.
Oh, you missed what I said.
Tomorrow we're gonna go deeper, especially into soul ties and how sex is a covenant. And then we're gonna get some applications on how to break this thing. And for some of you, we might just lead y'all into prayer to break some of these soul ties and what you have attached yourself to. I'm probably going to repeat this tomorrow, but there was a testimony given of a young man who was dating this woman, and the guy she dated before committed suicide.
Yeah.
So what happened was the spirit of suicide attached itself, not a demon, but the spirit of suicide attached itself to this woman so that the men that she deal with would drive them to suicide. But this is the catch. She wasn't just attracted to any type of dude. She was attracted to dudes who had purpose.
Because the enemy is purposeful.
Because the enemy wanted to kill those who had a purpose.
Come on, Holy Spirit.
So if she is attracted to you, that means that there was a purpose on your life that God wanted to use you for. So how does the enemy come in unless you invite him?
Come on.
So it doesn't matter how much you say, I'm saved and I love Jesus. If you are doing things that are opposite of what God asks you to do, you open the door for the enemy to have free reign in your life.
Come on.
I walked in on my wife talking about bloodline.
Oh.
And things coming through your bloodline that you don't know. Now, it may be dormant in your life because you didn't participate. Your great-granddad was an alcoholic. Your granddad was one. Your dad didn't drink. So you didn't drink because you didn't see it. Your dad stopped drinking because of what he saw. He never got rid of what was in the bloodline, so it lay dormant. So then you had a son, and now your son is an alcoholic, and you trying to figure it out. It's because you and daddy never, even though y'all went to church, you got saved, you loved Jesus, you never dealt with the underlining roots in the bloodline and curses that are there, and you never took care of the root of the problem. And the reason why a lot of us are in what we're in is because we only deal with things on the surface level. We never take care of the root of the problem. Bitterness is a root that brings up rage, anger, hatred. The root of those is the bitterness. So I can pluck out your anger all day. I can pluck out your hate. We can lay hands and all day we want on your rage.
But if we
never deal with the root,
come on.
Guess what happens with a tree? It eventually grows back. It may take a while, or something can trigger it, and then boom, you're right back to where you were, because we don't deal with roots of the situation.
Come on.
So because things aren't taught about sex, there is a root to sex. What is your sex rooted in? Is your sex rooted in the perversion, or is your sex rooted in godliness? But regardless of what is rooted in, all sex is rooted in two things: a covenant and a soul tie.
Come on. Come on. Teach us something.
Even the
sir.
Bible says if you have sex with a prostitute, you and that prostitute become one flesh, which means that she becomes your wife.
Hello.
So now I've been asking this question to men for the last couple of years. How many times have you been married and divorced?
But you never got a divorce.
How many wives do you really have? Ladies, y'all like to lie about your body count. You ain't got to lie to me, because I ain't got a heaven or hell to put you in. The thing becomes, you got a lot of husbands, and your husband's done attached a lot of his wives to you.
Come on.
So now he trying to figure out why you acting like Stacy, who he dumped a year ago, because he done brought Stacy into you.
To the marriage.
Oh, she starting to remind me of Rebecca. She didn't do this at first, because you still got Rebecca tied to you spiritually. And so now you're pushing that off into her. And like my wife said, if you got a incubus, a succubus spirit on you, if you got a spiritual husband and a spiritual wife, they don't want you in no relationship, because they feel like that you belong to them. So if you a man and you got a spiritual wife attached to you, she gonna corrupt every relationship. Then you're gonna be walking around. This is why men and women walk around here like all men are dogs, all women are hoes or gold diggers. They all the same. Why? Because of the spiritual the spiritual connection that they're pouring into these people. Because think about this: you, ladies and gentlemen, are the common denominator to any relationship, whether it's a friendship, sexual ship.
Sexual shit.
Whatever you business relationship, if your business is, if every job you go to you have an issue, you're the common denominator. If every relationship doesn't work, you're the common denominator. And that means that you have to learn to deal with you. The problem is and we're going to get into this tomorrow, don't like to deal with our mess.
Oh.
It's somebody else's problem.
Yep.
No, you're the problem.
Yep.
I'm speaking. I was a problem. I was a problem on many levels. And I can become a great problem. So I had to check me. So why am I so quick to, where did that, okay, so I had to sit down one day and I was like, all of these women have something in common. The first thing that they all have in common was me. So I wrote my name down on a piece of paper. And we're going to get into this tomorrow too, because we have some application for you. I wrote my name down on a piece of paper. Then I wrote, what did each of them have in common? Whether it was look, food, like it was simple stuff. Where they like to go, what they like to do. And then I realized all of this was in me.
That part. Talk about it.
That attracted me to these particular women.
Attracted them to you too.
And they also attracted them to what was in me, because it was
That's
also in them. As it says in James one, no, God tempt no man. Any man who is tempted, he's tempted by his own lust, and he's enticed. So the word entice means that it's already on the inside of me. So if I keep pulling up Jane, Susie, Rebecca, Florence, and I'm trying to figure out what's the issue,
It's
then
the same person
it's
with
the
a
same
different face.
personality, same thing, same something,
Same
boom, boom,
person,
boom.
different face.
Even if it changes slightly, it's
Same
still
person,
something
different
there.
face.
So then I start looking at, okay, this is what they got in common. So how does this look in my life? What do I do to trigger this? What do I do to bring this on? What have I done? And I ain't even know nothing about spirituality at that time. I ain't know nothing about demons and soul ties and uncleans. I ain't know nothing about that. I was trying to figure out why I keep going in circle. Why I keep having the same problems. Why do I keep attracting the same type of people? So I decided that it was just going to be me and Jesus. I go to the movies, it's me and Jesus. I come home, I ain't staying with nobody. Everybody got to move out of my house. Only person I want to come home and talk to is the furniture. I used to come home sometime and sit in the chair and forget. Before I know it, I walked in the door at 5:45. Before I know it, it was 8:45 because it got dark in the house. And I was like, wait a minute. I ain't even got nothing to eat yet. But I was sitting there reading. I was sitting there in the Bible. I was working on things that I felt like God was leading me to work on. I was doing other things. I was beginning to learn me. I was beginning to love me again. I was beginning to see the things that I accepted that I really didn't like. And tell myself, you don't have to accept that because you don't like it. That's not you. So I begin to do these things. So there is a spiritual consequence. So the question is premarital sex a gateway? The original question was to spiritual suicide. And when I changed the word to homicide, then we was able to stay live. But it was, are we killing ourselves? And how many other people are we killing? How many other people are we killing? How many people have we killed emotionally, spiritually, psychologically? How many people have we turned out? How many people have we used sex to overpower and do wrong? How many men have you women used? How many women have you men used? These are some of the things I really want you to think about. And come back tomorrow. Because tomorrow we're gonna really dive deep into this covenant and into this soul tie.
Come on, sir.
And then we're gonna have some applications to help you walk out what you're in. Some of you are tired. Some of you are 50 and tired. Some of you are 40 and tired. Some of you are 30 and tired. Some of you are 20 and just getting started, but you don't want that. You tired already. So let us help you. That's what we're here for. So as my thumbnail said, are you sleeping with demons? Ask yourself that question. How many demons have you really let in your life? How many unclean spirits have you really opened yourself up to? Now, if me and my wife wrong, you ain't got nothing to lose.
And if we're right, You got a whole lot to gain.
And you have a whole lot to think about. So it's hard to believe in a God that's unseen, but you don't believe in the unclean unseen.
Come on, talk about it.
But you can physically see all of the evil in the world. So there has to be some truth to what we telling you. It's used, been used, and using. So yeah. So we
You done worked your T-shirt out of place. What's going on?
I've been trying to pull it back. I think because I that's how I came out of the washing machine. Right. It done got stretched on the hanger. I don't know. But nevertheless, y'all know we love y'all. And we'll be back here tomorrow.
Yep.
2:00. I'm shooting for 1:30. 2:00. So yeah. So think about what we said. Pray on it. Ask God, where do you sit? Ask God, do you have any? Matter of fact, you ain't even gotta ask God.
Just look at your life.
Look at your life. You know, as DMX said, there was 4 Rondas, 2 Tinas, 8 Ashleys, 6 Denises. There was a Candy, a Felicia.
All right.
You know it. Go back and look at yourself.
Take inventory.
Take deep inventory and think about it. So, with that being said, we're going to see y'all back here tomorrow.
Love y'all.